Just be careful because Liz may have just taken us live right there.
Was she watching for the countdown?
First, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
And hello, everyone. This is Fox 12 Now. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thank you very much for joining us here today. If you're a usual watcher of this show, you probably notice it's a little bit of a different setup.
Yeah, we're not in the same place.
Not in the same place right now. I actually came over to Katie Zuniga's territory.
Yes.
So I came across the building.
You joined me in studio today.
Join you in studio for one of our awesome weather segments where Katie's going to fill us in on what's going to be coming up.
Yeah.
I think the last time we were talking was right before the freezing, the cold, the snow.
Yes.
We don't have that on the way.
No, but we have very, very wet weather coming our way. That, you know, that fun phrase that everybody gives us a hard time when we say, atmospheric river.
Atmospheric river, yes.
Yeah, so we're going to go through some of that today, talk about what it is, what it means, not that it's a clickbait sort of thing, that is an actual meteorological term to describe something that happens on a regular basis.
Okay, so we're going to go through that, and we are live streaming, I should mention too, on all of our platforms, so make sure to join in there. And if you do have questions as we go.
To ask that. Do you have the, you can watch them?
Yep, I will pull that up here on my trusty phone device, and I will take a look and follow along. So yeah, so if you do have questions, drop those in there. I'll give those to Katie, but Katie's going to tell us about this.
Yes, so I have, you know, this is my joke.
Wet turkey.
A bit of rain, which is very much of an understatement for you folks today, as we're looking at an atmospheric river that should start to get to us here pretty quickly. We're already starting to see some showers on the coast. If you've been watching any of our Good Day Oregon newscasts that we just finished up, we're starting to pick up a few showers, and that's because this first little bit of rain is just getting to the coast with this, but a bigger wave is coming in and it just piles on, and by the time we get to 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, you can see basically from all the way up north through Washington down to the northern part of the California coast, we are just being hammered. This is precipitable water, water vapor. This is the amount of available water in the atmosphere. Okay, so I have another slide for you, another graphic to show you this, but just really quick. An atmospheric river is a narrow channel of water that's available in the atmosphere in the top, or up to 10,000 feet, that is just prolific. It just is tons of moisture there. And I mentioned this once before. We've talked about this. Yeah. That I learned that there's more moisture in the air in an atmospheric river than there is in the mouth of the Mississippi River.
Wow.
That's how much water is available in the atmosphere.
Just looking at this graphic right here, I mean, that's kind of crazy, just aiming directly at us there.
Yes, and so we have these troughs that drop down. They go into the subtropics. You can see Hawaii down there in that bottom corner of the screen, and that's where we have all of that moisture-rich, beautiful air, very common in the cold months and the winter months, to grab it, drops it down, and then just aims it right at us. And then we get all the way to Sunday afternoon around 1 o'clock. It starts to back off a bit. We have a tiny little blip as we go into Monday. So we have these little waves that come in, and then things should basically back off for us. Now, we don't have to have an atmospheric river, obviously, to get rain. This is just one specific way that it happens. And we call these ones Pineapple Express, because it's coming from the Hawaiian region, and that's where we get that from. So if you hear somebody say Pineapple Express, they're talking about a very specific atmospheric river, but we can get them other ways as well. So not every Pineapple Express is an atmospheric river, but not every atmospheric river is a Pineapple Express.
Okay.
So if that helps clarify it. Looking at just the beginning parts of the rain for us with this, we're getting to tomorrow. This is about 12 hours, 24 hours away. Not, you know, some of our higher resolution models, like that one, that NAM 3K, is only saying 600ths of an inch, and the Euro in the middle there, which is usually likes to lay it on thick, it's actually not showing much either, but you can see more of a trend between what we call the WRF, the GEM, and then the IBM graph, all saying around 1/4 of an inch. And this is just by tomorrow morning. So just light precipitation tonight. If you look down past Portland, down towards Salem, you can see some of the valley might not even have accumulation tonight at all. now we're going to go into a longer range European model. And this is all the way again, so we're starting off Saturday morning, kind of where we left off with the last one. And we're going to push through until tomorrow night. So we're now starting to when that, you know, I told you around 2 or 3 o'clock is when that really gets aimed toward us. Look at the coast. You can see almost 2 inches,
Whoa.
1.5 inches, or 1.25 inches in some areas. And it's all up in that northwest corner, which I want you to put a pin in that because we're going to show you something later.
Okay.
But you notice how that's where a majority of the rain is. Now we're going to go through the wettest part and get all the way to Monday afternoon.
Whoa.
So we're looking at getting anywhere from about 2 to 3 inches. Now remember, I'm going to drive this home again. This is the model that likes to over-exaggerate, okay? So Tillamook, and you know, I'm not saying it's not possible, Bonneville Dam, to see that much with this because atmospheric rivers are known for packing the punch. Just don't put all of your hopes on this.
Okay.
This is just, we're looking 2 to 3 inches in the metro and valleys for sure, more along the coast. This is another one I like to show. So this is the American model and the European model. This is through tonight. So neither one of those are saying we're going to have any accumulation by 9 o'clock tonight. Then we kick it in, we get it moving, and we're going all the way to, now see, here we go, look at that. Tuesday morning, this one's only saying 3 inches, and then the graph, the GFS is saying 2 1/4. So you can see there's not total agreement. We just know it's going to be wet. So they're all still showing anywhere 2 to 3 inches, but wet. Do you have any questions?
No, I'm pulling that up here right now. But I was going to say, I mean, honestly, if you're out there, I mean, are you even going to notice the difference between a 1/2 inch of rain? It just sounds like it's a lot of rain.
Well,
it's just going to be soaked.
Yeah, and we talked about this when the snow was coming in. You don't really notice much of a difference between like 1/10 of an inch of rain or 1/4 inch of a rain. When you put that into snow, then you really see a big difference. But here, just know once it gets going tomorrow night, whether it's 3, 4, 5 o'clock until Sunday morning, right around 3 a.m. is when I think the big stuff's coming in. Yeah, this is what I'm going to show you. This one is one of my favorites because it helps us with timing. So here we are Friday night. You can see tonight around 10 o'clock. This is after 3 hours. So between 7 and 10 o'clock, we'll get about 4/100 of an inch of a rain. Then another 1/10 by 1, another 5/100 by 4. Then we have that little break, that first wave I showed you on the atmospheric river. So we get a little break in the morning. Then we have some showers in the afternoon. And then it just goes gangbusters overnight into Sunday afternoon. So totals shift up or down a bit, but everything I've looked at has said right around 3 o'clock, 4 a.m. on Sunday. That's the time where it's just going to probably be like, okay. And to get that much, I mean, that's heavy.
That's
we start watching for flooding, like urban flooding and things like that in some areas. Once you start getting it, if you have more than a 1/2 inch in 3 hours, then you start worrying about those kind of things.
So is that something that could be a concern?
It's something to definitely be watching because that's a lot of rain all at once, you know, in that area. So unfortunately, the total didn't come up here. Must be crunching some numbers for me again. I had that working, but technology, those sort of things, they like to happen for you. Here's where we are with our rain so far for the month, and this is just the last 10 days. Basically have been wet we were wet from Thursday to yesterday. It's the first time we haven't seen any accumulation this last week, but we are at a little more than an inch. And if you look at typically by February this far, we're an inch behind what we would have. But if you add in that even 2 inches, that will take us to our monthly average. So we could get basically our entire makeup of rain for the month of February this weekend. And definitely, so there's our average. 3.68, and we're at 2.68. I think we're at 2.68, 2.64 right now. So if we get 2 inches, we're there. If we get 3, we're over. We've blown it. Yep. Yep. So just as I thought this would be good to show those changes, and we do. When I was getting to know these numbers here, I thought it was funny. I like that it gets a little more wet in March, which is an interesting thing because we have this nice atmospheric river that's coming, but then we have a ridge that looks like it's going to build behind it. So once we get through Wednesday and Thursday, Friday, it's going to be like a fall spring. We're going to see bright sunny skies, temperatures in the low to mid 60s. But we have the La Nina pattern that we're in, and so that ridge could be building and looks like it could shift back to the west a little, which would mean it would go up and then it would drop everything back down, and we would get into another wet pattern for the start of March.
I mean, I will take the warm weather
Yeah.
I will take the fake spring or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
That's what I've always called it, is fake spring. But
yep.
Yeah, I am all for that, especially after however much rain it is that we're going to be getting here.
Yeah, so let's just say the average we're looking at is, we said 2 to 3 inches. Let's just say 2 inches. So you add that 2 this weekend, that takes us almost to average. So if we get another, inch on top of that, we could actually get more rain in February than we have seen, in recent history. So we usually go back, a few years, sometimes up to 10, but we haven't had that rainy, like we don't have any outliers here where we had a February that went like gangbusters off the chart. And, because they were like, when we were looking at snow, do you remember we had a couple Februaries, there was like 10 inches,
right?
And then everything else was close to the average. We haven't had a really super wet February in a while. So
come right
if we
in
add
at the end.
3 inches to this, we'll beat them all. Yeah. We'll beat them all. So there's that.
Moral of the story, it's going to be wet this weekend.
It's going to be wet. Okay, I think we have a couple more minutes. I want to talk about mountain snow real quick.
I do want to say, too, if anybody does have any last-minute questions, feel free to drop those in, especially on Facebook. So I'm looking at it right now. Hope said, I appreciate the team effort and off-script approach to the live news. Very refreshing.
Hey, we're trying to be, this is like a pull the curtain back a little more off the cuff.
Yeah.
Look at things, or we want to answer questions, because we can't do that typically on live news broadcasts.
Exactly.
Okay. The mountain, looking beautiful. We had an amazing, gorgeous sunrise. I actually did a dueling sunrise post on Facebook and Instagram this morning, because the Mount Hood sunrise and the Shriner sunrise were just breathtakingly beautiful. We did have some new snow this last weekend, so Sunday and Monday, and then things finished up. So just recently, we had just this last snow that fell, which was yesterday. I'm trying, the day before. We had 3, 6, and 5. Okay, so this is the new snow that we had. I think I reported it yesterday morning, so it would be for the day before that. That's all the fresh snow that we have. So these atmospheric rivers, I always jokingly say we're getting Hawaii rain this weekend, right? Because it's coming up from the subtropics. And so it's very warm. If you've ever been in a tropical or subtropical place, when it rains, you're hot, right? You're muggy, and you're just like, isn't this supposed to refresh me? But it doesn't. And so we're going to be pretty warm in the upper 50s, which would be the warmest that we've had. That also means that our snow levels are going up because our temperatures are going up. And so as we get through Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, you can see our snow levels are way up in the 6,000 range. Now, the thing to know is that the snow level is just the lowest level we could see snowfall. The freeze level is higher than that. But if it is a very, we had talked about this going in this, if say it's a really thin layer of cold air and there's not much time for it to build up a big snowflake, as soon as it gets past that freeze layer, it's going to melt really quickly, right? So we don't have that, like when we had this last system, it was a nice deep layer of cold air from the surface all the way up because of that cold Canadian air that came in. So the likelihood that this will be anything but slushy to either that or just straight down wet, just rain basically, or wet snow falling, just looks like it's going to just melt anything that we have that's probably fresh up there. Now we have a good base, so it's not going away. We're not going to see bare ground by the time the weekend is over, but it is going to compact things down and melt stuff back, which kind of stinks at the end of our, the season, because we want the spring skiing and the lasting snow. And of course, if any snow falls on top of it, then you get the avalanche concerns and things like that. But this is right here. This is also this is that ridge I was telling you about. Remember that fall spring? So right as we get into Wednesday, that ridge, that very strong ridge goes whoop, and there you have it. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it's like way off the chart. Okay. Thought we'd go over some snowpack. We think we have another minute. Or we got time?
Let's see here.
How much time we got?
Yeah, let's do some quick snowpack.
Okay, so right now the Mount Hood area, this is as of the 18th, right before we got that last couple inches of snow, 101% of normal. Look at to the south. Now we had some systems that passed through Northern California and to our south. Look at Lake County, Goose Lake, 196% of average. So we're doing great across the southern part of the state. And then that thing I told you to put the pin in, this is the drought monitor. I've been forecasting in Oregon for 8 years now. I've never seen it myself personally. Now, I'm not saying I monitor this on a daily basis, but I watch this very closely. This is it that we have for dry. Wow. You have a tiny little, up in this corner, but remember how I showed you where all the pack of the punch is going to be? Yeah. So that could obliterate this sort of dry.
So if you're looking at that for this drought monitor, what is that? How does that translate for fire danger and things like that coming into summer. So this means
this would be good. Yeah,
okay.
This definitely not seen, because and there were times when I was in Central Oregon over the past few years, we had exceptional and extreme all the way through kind of the Tri-County area is what I would call it, and it would just be deathly dry, you know, and so you get any flicker of anything coming in, and it would just set things off. So to have this much of the state, especially on the east side of the Cascades, without any form of drought, and then this just being the only area at dry, we get 3 to whatever inches along the coast, you know.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. So,
all right,
that's what I have for you. We got to always, you know, always want to plug for you to get our Fox 12 weather app, because we will be watching these. If anything does come up this weekend, we start seeing flooding concerns or things like that, anything, you know, gets off the rocker, of course, we update you, and we update you on the app here. So make sure you get that if you don't already. You
definitely want to do that. So download that, and of course, download the other Fox 12 Oregon app as well. That way you can watch Fox 12 Now, which is this show that you're joining us here. So we live stream here every weekday starting, well, 11 a.m. We get to do some of these segments with Katie, but then starting at 1 p.m., we've got all kinds of other stuff for you too. So right after our noon news, but you can watch all of that on the app or at kptv.com or the Fox 12 Now tab, all great places to go to. And
Yes. Okay, so we're going to get back together on Tuesday after this is all said and done.
Okay.
And we'll kind of do a wrap-up of what happened and how much we ended up getting.
Yeah, and then we'll be getting ready for fake spring.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that. All right, thanks everybody for joining.